What is going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 22 of the Tinted Visors podcast. Today, we're going to go right into some news, talk about the Eastern Conference wildcard race. We're going to talk about some players, checking in on them after their trade deadline moves. And then we're going to do a redraft, going to touch on 2020 this time around. And of course, we're going to finish it off with some trivia. That being said, let's get things going.
Before we get going, as always, card of the day. I'll be going first today. Today we have a just Cole Perfetti Young Guns. Classic card, one of my favorite young players. Just 22 years old, is wrapping up his first full year with the club, with the Jets this year. Hopefully he can crack 40 points. I think he's on pace for just under that. So if he can crack 40, that's a great full year, first year with the Jets. Looking for him to develop even more, having a career year. So yeah, one of my favorite players. Love watching him play.
Yeah, great player for the Jets, and a little foreshadowing. We're going to touch on him later in the episode. For me, I have the super rare Kenny Dawson, 1 of 1 Future Watch auto. You get these for a photo day at your local minor hockey league. Got like a set of 9 or whatever, cut them out, signed them off. And super rare, you don't see them anywhere on, eBay or anything like that. You're never going to find anywhere like that. So I'm a proud owner of it. I got the 1 of 1. The search is over. Super rare, like I said, priceless. If anyone has any offers, shoot me a DM. I'm willing to sell. But that's my card of the day. It's great. It's close to my heart.
Pretty sweet card. Obviously, it's a rookie card there. Little baby Kenny in there, the auto too with the gold. Love the look of that card. Just totally pops. Definitely one of your favorite cards in your collection.
Going straight into some news here. No more trades happening, no more signings, so news is a little bit dry right now. So we're going to touch on the Eastern Conference wildcard race. And boy, is it a good race right now. Tampa's leading the way in that first wildcard spot. They got 82 points with 13 games left to go. Detroit's right behind them, followed by Washington, New York Islanders, and the New Jersey Devils. They're all still in the race. Buffalo's a little far behind. Not really going to touch on them. We see them kind of out at this point. But Caden, how's the race looking? Who's going to come out on top?
It seems like the race in the East is always crazy for these 2 wild card spots. And right now, Tampa Bay, I don't even think we have to touch on them. We will, though. I think they have that first wild card spot absolutely locked up. I don't think they're going anywhere. I think they are a lock for the playoffs. The second spot gets a little bit trickier for me because, like you said, right now the Wings have it, but they have been on a skid. We saw that fight a couple weeks ago. They did lose that 6 in a row. So who knows what's going to happen with them, still skidding. You look at a team like the Islanders. They were on a big heater. They won 6 in a row, and then they proceeded to lose the next 6. They got back on track this afternoon, beating Winnipeg 6-3. So maybe they can turn things around. I don't know how the Capitals are doing. You do have a guy like Ovi heating up on a huge goal streak. We'll touch on him in a second. But for me, the New Jersey Devils, I have to stick with them. We made that bet. It's looking like they're out. They're falling out of favor. But hopefully they can get on a massive heater to end the year, turn things around, and grab that second wildcard spot.
It's quite the race. And, the Red Wings, they got Dylan Larkin back, so hopefully that can help them with, the skid you were talking about. But the Capitals, they've turned it on as of late. Had a really slow start, especially Ovechkin, had, barely any goals in the first 10, 20 games of the season. But he's turned it on. He's heating up. And they're making a really, really strong push in the end of the season. The Islanders, I'm not too sure about. I don't think they are still in the race. Same with the Devils. I think those teams are falling just a little too far out. But, right now it's Washington against Detroit. Washington had a barn burner the other night against Carolina. They're really, putting it all out there and really, really pushing for that last spot.
Both those teams are playing really well right now, and it's really going to come down to probably the last week of the regular season. So it's definitely a headline to watch as we start to see, playoff teams clinching and matchups starting to be formed.
But it just sucks. Your reward for squeaking into the playoffs, you're facing Florida in the first round. You're facing New York Rangers in the first round. It's a tough reward, but, we saw it last year, a couple upset. There's always going to be some in the playoffs. So whichever team makes it in, they're going to have to be, doing everything they can to take off that number 1 spot.
So, you talk about playing Florida in the first round, and Florida was in this exact spot last year. That second wild card spot, they had to play the President Trophy winning Bruins. So, Kenny, out of these playoff teams, say the Bolts clinch that first playoff spot. Out of the 4 remaining teams, Wings, Caps, Isles, Devils, Whose matchup do you like the best against Florida, and who has the best chance of upsetting them in the first round?
As much as I hate to say it, considering I bet against them, I feel like the New Jersey Devils would have maybe the best shot, just the experience of, going somewhat deep last season. The Detroit Red Wings, they're a really young team. Maybe Patrick Kane could sort of show them the way, but, same with the Capitals. A lot of those guys haven't been to the playoffs in a couple of years. And with the Islanders as well, I don't think they really have a big shot. So I think the Devils, led by Jack Hughes, led by guys like Nico Hischier, they could have, a pretty good upset against Florida. They just need to get there.
All right, so just moving on to the trade deadline acquisitions. We'll start with probably the biggest headline right now. Kenny, I'll let you talk about him. Anthony Duclair for your Tampa Bay Lightning. Tell me what's going right with him.
Yeah, you mentioned the biggest headline, and Jake Gensel's right there as well. But, with Duclair, with the expectations that he came in with the price that they gave up for him, he's probably been the best bang for the buck from the deadline so far. And, started off his career in Tampa with that 7-0 win in Philadelphia. Just a great welcome to the team. And ever since, he's been playing on the line with Cooch and Braden Point. And, I mean, how can you not put up the points with those two guys on your line? He's been just a great fit. It sucks that he only has 1 year left on his contract. So, the better he plays, the more he gets paid in the summer, which is kind of unfortunate. But he's been, a real X factor in the past couple games. Really sort of, they haven't lost without him, right? So, I mean, he's been a big factor in why they're having so much success late in this season.
Huge boost for Tampa, especially when they need it in this wild card race. Really puts them over the edge and locks up that first wild card spot and kind of makes them a pretty popular pick to upset whoever they play in the first round. Moving over to Jake Guentzel, you mentioned him. He has quietly put up 11 points in 7 games for the Carolina Hurricanes. They look really scary. That's the last thing anyone wanted to see, was a deep Carolina squad getting to add a player of the caliber of Jake Guentzel. But yeah, great fit for the Canes. Huge pickup for them at the deadline.
Yeah, my pick to win the cup at the start of the season. And, he's shutting up a lot of the haters. A lot of people said that he wouldn't produce without Crosby, and he's really silenced them, and that's great for him. But even, his line mate, his teammate, his new teammate, Evgeny Kuznetsov, has been, revitalized his career in Carolina ever since leaving Washington. Nothing special, nothing too much, no big numbers like Jake Guentzel, but he is quietly having a great Carolina career, and I think he's a lot happier with his situation there. Moving on to the Winnipeg Jets, Tyler Toffoli, you keep mentioning they kind of came out of nowhere when they picked him up, but he's got 6 points in 7 games played.
Yeah, he's playing well. Really great fit on that second line right wing spot. When I saw him go to the Jets, pretty upset about it. Was hoping the Canucks could get him. Thankful that LA didn't get him. They really need that scoring depth. But he's exactly what you want. What every team really wants is just some scoring punch on that second line. Can play the first line too. Can produce given more minutes. But yeah, the Jets loaded up. They're going all in this year, and I would not want to see them in the first round come playoff time.
Couple defensemen up next. Probably maybe the guy with, the biggest need for a change of scenery, and it's Bowen Byram. 6 points in 8 games played. A lot more consistent with the Buffalo Sabres. Really kind of showing the guys in Buffalo what it takes to win games. He really needed that change. It was sad to see him go from the Colorado side, but, to see him have success in Buffalo, it's great to see. And, that defensive core we keep saying is going to be so deadly for such a long time.
Yeah, and you say 6 points in 8 games, and, most people, when they hear a defenseman have 6 points in 8 games, they're thinking 1 goal and 5 assists, no goals and 6 assists. Kenny, Bowen Byram has 3 goals and 3 assists. Like, he's putting the puck in the net. It's crazy. Still a super young defenseman, and adding to that core of already Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power, throwing Bowen Byram in the mix, it's crazy. This Sabre squad is going to be dangerous in a few years. Going to the flip side of that trade, Casey Middlestat was going the other way, fitting in really nicely on that second line for the Avs, has 5 points in 6 games. Kenny, how's the fit for Middlestat in Colorado?
It's looking great, and like you said a couple weeks ago, the upgrade of him from Ryan Johansson is just so big for them, especially late in this season. And especially, power play minutes, you're going to be playing with, guys like McKinnon, guys like Rantanen. You're going to be able to put the puck in the net. And a teammate of his, Sean Walker, same deal. He's got, some good point totals right now with the Colorado Avalanche, but he was there to provide the defense, and that's just what he's doing. Colorado looks really deadly, and it's not looking good in the West. Just one more guy with a sort of decent start to his career with the new team. Noah Hannafin, quietly putting up 4 points in 7 games. Vegas dearly holding on to that last wild card spot with St. Louis just on their tails. They could use some help, and they could use some help from Anthony Mantha. Unfortunately, 1 point in 7 games with Vegas. He wasn't supposed to be some sort of game breaker for them, but they would like at least a little more than that, especially considering the price that they're paying in terms of contract, how much he's making. Um, but yeah, they need a little more from him, especially in that depth. Jack Eichel, Jonathan Marchessault are basically their main guys right now, and they need more than that if they want to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, and Mantha was having a pretty good year. He's already got 20 goals on the year, so the expectation is definitely more than 1 point in 7 games, especially for a team that is trying to make the playoffs. And we talked about it time and time again, but if this Vegas team does make it into the playoffs, Mark Stone is probably magically healthy. You've got Tomas Hertl that you also acquired at the deadline, who's coming off LTIR. And this squad is dangerous and they can go deep. And they're going to give any one seed trouble if they make it in this wild card race. But they have to get there first, and Anthony Mantha definitely needs to step up in order for this Vegas Golden Knights squad to make the playoffs.
A couple of other guys having slow starts. Vladimir Tarasenko, we keep saying he's not the same guy he was a couple of years ago, but you would expect a little more than 3 points in 6 games played, especially going from such a disaster in Ottawa to an amazing team in Florida. He's playing a lot greater players there. Maybe getting less chances, that might be the factor, but you would like a little bit more from him. Similar with Vegas, you just want that scoring depth.
Tarasenko, he knows what it takes to win. Won a cup with St. Louis. So I'm not as concerned about him as I am with Mantha. I think he'll come around just fine in the playoffs. He did it last year with the Rangers. I'm sure he'll be able to do it again for Florida. And then another guy struggling, Adam Henrique, just 2 points in 7 games for the Oilers. That was their big pickup of the deadline. I'm sure Oiler fans are quite disappointed, especially considering the fact they gave up a first round pick, which from the start we both said was too hefty. So it's tough to see, 2 points in 7 games, but once again, a veteran in the league. Hopefully he can turn it around come playoff time.
Yeah, I mean, he falls down the lineup in Edmonton. He was playing, top 6 minutes with Anaheim, and now he's third, fourth line forward. But like you said, we keep reiterating how much better they could have used that number one pick and fetching, someone with more potential or more upside. So hopefully he can turn it around. He's got some success in the playoffs. He is, a clutch performer. So hopefully by the time playoffs come, he will sort of show really what give him a reason for why they gave up a first round pick for him.
Just moving on to the next segment, our 2020 redraft. Not too far removed from it, only coming up on 4 years since the draft. So we do expect this to change in the coming years quite a bit. We'll start with some honorable mentions. I'm going to talk about Cole Perfetti. Unfortunately, we can't put players in here based on potential. Hasn't shown it yet. He's shown signs, just hasn't produced yet. Like I said earlier, in his first year with the Jets. So hopefully he can crack 40 points and just build on it for the coming years. Kenny, any honorable mentions you want to talk about?
Yeah, there's a couple, but I did want to touch on Perfetti as well. I mean, a couple years from now, I think he definitely makes the top 10. He's got all the chance in the world with great players in Winnipeg. A couple other guys from, original top 10 picks, Jack Quinn and Jamie Drysdale. We had to leave them out, unfortunately. Again, just can't do it based off potential, and just injuries have plagued both those players for the majority of their career. And we do expect them to climb up the rankings in, as early as next year.
Kicking it off at number 10. Throwing a curveball here, we're going with a goalie. We're going to say Devin Levi in the 10 spot. Originally drafted super late, was traded from Florida to Buffalo, led that Team Canada squad to a gold medal in the World Juniors, and he's shown all the potential that he can be an NHL goalie in this league. Kind of got thrown to the wolves at the start of this year by Buffalo. I think they could have done a much better job developing him, kind of giving him some sheltered starts and easing him into the league instead of, just expecting him to be an everyday starter. But yeah, he's shown some really good signs recently. He's been playing really well recently. So for us, he's going to go in the 10.
Yeah, I mean, we did touch upon not putting guys in for their potential, but we wanted to have a little bit of fun and put a goalie at 10. And I mean, his college career was one of the best of a goaltender, probably in history. Going with number 9, we're going to go with Dawson Mercer. He's top 6 in goals, assists, and points. Really good offensive production. He's having a very slow third season, and I think that's just because, the Devils as a whole are having just, a poor season. But He's been playing really well, former first round pick, and we put him at 9 for now.
Yeah, and if he was having a better year this year, he'd probably be higher on this list. But because of these growing pains the Devils are going through, and Mercer being a victim of that, he's going to fall in at 9. Moving on to number 8, product of the Florida Panthers, we have Anton Lundell. Has been really solid for them down in the lineup. Doesn't get as much opportunity as some of the other guys on this list just because of how deep Florida is. Typically slotting in the middle 6, bottom 6 as a center. He's first in plus minus in this draft class by 30. Plus minus can be a misleading stat, but leading it by that much, had to give it some love. So yeah, Anton Lundell in the 8 for us.
Just a great two-way forward. A lot of these guys are based off of points. He doesn't have as many as some of the guys, but Barkov, fellow countryman, is taking him under his wing and showing what it means to be a true two-way forward, and he is excelling. Number 7, we're going to go with the first defenseman appearance. We're going to go with Jake Sanderson, falling 2 spots from the original draft, but he's first in points among defensemen. Has a positive plus-minus rating, which, it's nothing special to say, but being on such a poor Ottawa squad, that's why we had to highlight it. He's got that long extension. They see a lot of potential in him. His career so far has been very promising. He might even take over a guy like Thomas Chabot, who has been a staple in their lineup for years past. But yeah, Jake Sanderson at number 7.
Yeah, he's at 7, but he could very easily climb this list in the coming years. Ton of potential from this left shot D-man from the States. I think we even had him on our 2026 Olympic squad for the Americans. So we do expect a lot from him in the coming years, and don't be surprised if you catch him in the top 5 if you were to redraft this list in a couple years. Moving on to number 6, we have Seth Jarvis from the Carolina Hurricanes. Has just been a really solid winger for them. Gets to play first line minutes with Aho, has been producing, gets some power play time as well. He's top 5 in every scoring category, goals, assists, and points, and he's second in plus minus, just back 30 of Lundell. So yeah, Seth Jarvis, really solid pickup from the Canes. They've developed him really nicely, and he's becoming a very, very solid NHL player.
Yeah, I think if you take in recency bias, he is even higher on this list, but number 6 is nothing to complain about. Really good player they have in Carolina. Going with number 5, we have the second round pick, Brock Faber, originally picked by the Kings. He's now going at number 5 here, the top defenseman that we have in this class. He's already the number 1 guy in Minnesota on that blue line, a Calder candidate. He's going to be, in the talks for Norris in a couple of years. He's just such a great player. Just like Dawson Mercer, unfortunately, he's not going to get as much coverage just because Minnesota's not doing so well, but you can't deny the skill. We have him edging out Jake Sanderson in terms of defensemen, just barely. Those guys could be interchangeable, but for now, Brock Faber topping in at number 5.
Yeah, and he's already producing really well. And if Bedard wasn't in the league, that Calder is his for the taking, having a really solid rookie campaign. And he's already that number 1 D-man in Minnesota. A team that isn't doing so well, the expectations are a little bit higher, but they're still chasing a wild card spot. And, being able to rely on a rookie 30 minutes a night, night in, night out, it's pretty insane. But Brock Faber is stepping up to the challenge, and he's producing. Really excited to see him grow in the coming years. Coming in at number 4, the original number 2 overall pick, we have Quinton Byfield. It took a little bit longer, than maybe some people were expecting for a number 2 overall pick, but he's finally breaking out, and he is having himself a year. He's a walking highlight reel. All he does is seem to score highlight reel goals, and you see it every night. Very solid center for them. I think he's going to continue to grow and become an even better player. I think LA is going to be happy, looking back, taking him at 2, but for us, he's at 4 right now.
Yeah, and again, with recency bias, he's probably a little bit higher than we have him right now. But, he's kind of got some of that Tage Thompson in him, just such a tall player with insane, silky hands. So we have him at number 4 right now. And again, he's going to be 1 spot right behind the next guy at number 3, which is Alexis Lafreniere. Second in goals, 3rd in overall points from the draft class. He's finally showing some signs of a first overall pick. It has taken a long time to get there. We do still see him as a very solid player with the New York Rangers organization. Kind of wonder whether if he went somewhere else, they would have had better development and whether he'd be an even better player than he is now. But we have him at number 3.
Coming in at number 2, we have Lucas Raymond of the Detroit Red Wings. He's second in the draft class in assists and points, and he has very quietly been really, really solid for the Detroit Red Wings. He's kind of flown under the radar, had 57 points in his rookie year. In his third season now, he's at 60 points in 70 games played right now. So we'll see if he can crack 70. And if he does, this is maybe the quietest 70 points in the league that we've seen. With the uptick in scoring, a lot of these guys putting up 70, even 80 points seem to fly under the radar. And Lucas Raymond is a victim of that. Detroit's got a good one. Really excited to see him, continue to develop like everybody else in this draft class.
Unfortunately for him, just had a little bit of regression in that second year, and that's why we have him at second right now. But it'll be interesting to see what happens in the off season. They have both him and Mo Seider with their contracts expiring, coming on as restricted free agents. So that'll be a lot of money given out to those two. But going with the number one pick, I don't think there's any debate here. It is Tim Stützle. He is first in goals, assists, and points, again, on just such a poor Ottawa squad. So the fact that he's putting up the points, 90 points last season, not going to get there this season, I don't think, but can't deny the skill. Ever since watching his first career goal, batting that puck out of midair, you knew he was going to be special. They got something going in Germany with Draisaitl and Mo Seider, and now Tim Stützle. Great development. He's going to be, I would say in a couple of years, he will still be number one. That's how confident I am in him.
Yeah, this guy is going to be a superstar in this league if he isn't already. I think it's a bit premature to say he is, but he definitely will be a superstar in this league. Touched on 90 points last year, and like I said, these guys 70, 80, 90 points for Tim Stützle. It seems like nobody was talking about that last year. In just his third season, and that's his second full season with the big club, that is massive. Just under point per game right now on a struggling Ottawa squad. Expect some growth from him next year. Maybe he can get back to 90, maybe even 100, if Ottawa can put together a more competent team on the ice.
But yeah, that wraps up the top 10. Let us know what you guys think. Whether you agree, whether you think, some of those honorable mentions should be up in there. We're going to do some more redrafts. We really like it. We're going to look at maybe 2015, maybe something a little earlier. Just doing the recent ones, it's kind of hard to do just because everyone is so young. But let us know what you guys think. That's the 2020 top 10 redraft.
And just like that, it's trivia time. I got two for you today, Kenny. We'll start with the career path. Currently playing. So, started his career with the Chicago Blackhawks, over to the Nashville Predators, Philadelphia Flyers, and the Minnesota Wild. You already know it, don't you?
Is it Ryan Hartman?
It is Ryan Hartman.
Dang. Record time.
I didn't even finish the career path. I don't even remember him playing for Nashville or Philly, so...
I will hit you with a career path as well. Let's see if you can beat my record time. We're going to go with the New York Islanders,
Okay.
the Ottawa Senators, the Boston Bruins, the Capitals, and the New York Islanders.
Zdeno Chara.
Yeah.
Bang.
That was quick.
Bang.
Oh my god.
Bang.
Damn.
We're speed running trivia tonight, so gonna keep it going here. Let's slow it down a bit though. So for me, I have a list of iconic scenarios from, I would say, recent memory that we would remember.
Okay.
And I'm gonna basically explain the scenario. I'll walk you through it, and you just have to tell me who scored the goal, who got the assist, or who took the penalty. So we'll start. We'll go with the most recent one. 2023 Bruins-Panthers, Game 7. Florida's trailing by 1 with under a minute to go. Who scored the goal to tie the game?
I'm torn between Verhaeghe and Montour. Verhaeghe scored the winner. Oh my god. Is it one of them?
Do you want me to say?
Yeah.
It is one of them, yes.
Damn. Okay. I'm gonna go Brandon Montour.
Brandon Montour is correct. It was his second of the game, and he just squeaked it underneath the blocker of Swayman. And the next question was, who scored the game winner in overtime?
Carter Verhaeghe.
Carter Verhaeghe is correct. Shot from the slot. Love seeing the Bruins lose. Moving on, going a little bit further back. We're going 2017, round 1, between the Ottawa Senators and the Boston Bruins. Game 3. Something iconic happened. I'll let you try and figure
Okay.
it out before telling you, but what happened? What was so iconic about this game? Part of the highlight reel isn't the goal, it's more the pass.
Oh, oh, oh. Is it the alley oop, right? Carlson to Hoffman.
That was the question. Who made the pass? It was Eric Carlson's Hail Mary and Mike Hoffman tucking it away with the Forsberg. All right,
Such a sick goal.
staying in that same playoff run. Just moving on. Eastern Conference Finals, Game 7 between the Sens and the Pens. It's 2-1 Penguins with 5 minutes left. Who tied the game for the Sens to send it to overtime?
Ryan Dzingel.
Ryan Dzingel is correct. Off an Eric Carlson slap shot, bangs home the rebound. And I'm sure you know this, but who scored the game winner in double overtime?
Chris Kunitz.
It's Kunitz.
The man who single-handedly ended a franchise.
Absolutely ended the Senators. All right, doing well. We'll go to 2019. Sharks Vegas, Game 7. The Vegas Golden Knights are winning 3-0 late in the third period. Who took a 5-minute major? I'll accept 2 names here.
Okay, because I was gonna say one of them did it, but I think the other guy got it.
Yeah.
Stastny got it, right? The 5.
I think Cody Eakin got sent to the box.
I was gonna say Cody.
Okay,
the other
okay.
Guy, but who got kicked out?
I think it was Cody Eakin with his cage, but he gave the initial cross check and then Stastny kind of finished it. But yeah, so, and then on that ensuing power play, that 5-minute power play, can you tell me who scored?
Couture scored.
Couture scored.
Hurdle scored.
Hurdle scored.
Kevin LeBanc scored.
Kevin LeBanc scored.
There's another one?
Well, there were 4 goals on the power play.
It's a different player.
May have been a name you already said.
Couture had 2, right?
Couture had 2. Yes. Just going on. Who tied the game for Vegas late in the third to send it to overtime?
Jonathan Marchessault.
Jonathan Marchessault in the slot. And finally, who scored the game winner?
Tampa Bay legend Barclay Goodrow.
Barclay Goodrow sent the Sharks on to the next round. And the last one I have for you, 2010 gold medal game. Everyone remembers the Sidney Crosby golden goal. But do you remember how they got there, Kenny? Who tied the game 2-2 with under a minute to go for the United States?
Zach Parise.
Zach Parise is correct. Wow. Banged home a rebound as well to send the States into overtime, setting them up for one of the most iconic goals in at least Canadian history.
I'm actually going to do something that you've done back to you.
Okay.
So I'll send you a graphic right now. It's just the most recent team that player's played for. It's a starting lineup right off of daily face-off. I want the team and then the 5 players.
Yeah.
There's an underlying thing there that might give it away.
There's an underlying thing.
I'm curious if you can catch on to it.
Okay, well, initially, the first thing that screams at me is Florida. Well, I was so set on Florida, but now I guess it's got to be the goalie, the Sharks goalie. Sharks goalie. Who do they ever have? Like Martin Jones?
They've had a carousel of goalies.
I know, it's absolutely wild. Buffalo center. Okay.
Speak aloud.
I think it's clicking here because Buffalo center. You think of Jack Eichel, and you go between the pipes. There's Aiden Hill.
Okay.
Left wing for the Blues. I guess it would be Barbashev. I'm not sure where he's playing. I don't know if he's playing down the middle for them, but I know he plays the wing, so I guess we'll say Barbashev. And then on the right wing from Florida, that must be Jonathan Marchessault. I don't know where he came from. Then on D, you know what's crazy is this is the Vegas Golden Knights, and I just looked up their daily faceoff earlier, and I can't remember who plays first pairing. It's a weird one on the left for LA.
Yeah.
The Anaheim guy. That's Shea Theodore.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Okay.
Last one.
So who's playing on the? Oh, is it Braden McNabb?
It is.
Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Every single player and the right team. Took a little bit, but nailed it on the head.
Yeah, that was tough. That was a lot of fun. Love these graphics that we send each other. Oh, we should do them more often. But yeah, Vegas took me a little bit to get there, but holy, Braden McNabb
So
is
the
playing top
underlying
pair.
thing that I thought maybe would give it away is the fact that none of them are drafted. Like there's no junior teams on this
Right.
graphic, right?
Yeah,
They're
true.
all just. But yeah,
Oh,
the San Jose one, honestly, the goalie's usually a hint, but that
I
does not
know.
really help you
Like,
much. San Jose has had
just
10 goalies the last 3 4 years, so
and you see San Jose starter, you think it's going to be a bad team, so it kind of throws you
yeah.
off with it being Vegas. But no, that was a good one.
That wraps up the trivia. It was honestly a really fun one today. Pretty quick, pretty good knowledge on both sides, but wraps it up. We'll come back at you guys next week. We're looking into playoffs starting soon. We're really excited about potential matchups and sort of diving into some of that kind of stuff.
Yeah, you talk about trivia being short. Who knows? Maybe we have to start doing trivia with other people. Maybe a little foreshadowing going on there. But that's going to be all for us this week. Thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, be sure to check us out on all social medias. We will be posting. There's some new stuff coming at you real soon. But yeah, until next week, we will see you guys in the next episode.